for our first guest speakers for his presidency to come and talk, make sure members are aware of what's really happening, to keep you informed about the regionalisation, and to also talk to you about the role of what the district will be as we go forward with this pilot. So we have got our own past president, David Egan, who was instrumental in the establishment of the regionalisation project. He's going to be speaking first, and David was also a previous district governor. And then following David will be Marie-Louise Lees, who is our current district governor for 9510, who had a wonderful changeover lunch or morning tea on Sunday, which many of us attended. So, David, I welcome you first of all to come up and speak to us, followed by ML. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi, and enjoy your lunch when it comes, you people over there. The rest of you enjoy eating while I talk. I wanted to start this speech with a memorable quote on leading change. So I googled the topic, and I was flooded with quotes from 16th century philosopher and author Niccolo Machiavelli. And the best quote warned of the perilous dangers of leading change, but it was very long. So I pushed another button on my phone that said, for a shortened, humorous, artificial intelligent version, push button. So I'll read that out, it's very short. So you want to be an innovator and lead the change charge. Well, buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. But hey, if you're up for the challenge, give it a go. Just don't say I didn't warn you about the perils of being a pioneer. I wish I'd read that 6 years ago. And as you know, Machiavelli was a controversial figure who advised a no-nonsense, harsh approach to getting things done, but he was very realistic. If you've read any of his writings in the book called The Prince. Rotary has been a little softer in its approach, using words like unite to create change, and imagine, and hope, and even now, magic. Machiavelli would have said, probably said, actions speak louder than words, get on with it. So today I'm pleased to present this presentation, which I gave at the District Assembly, and Trevor asked if we would do the same thing here. And I'm pleased to say that, the action has been happening for the last 6 years. So what I intend to do is to explain how the pilot was developed, and I want to do that through the lens of history, which is really important to get perspective. The rationale for the pilot, based on key research that we did, and the pilot's aim, objectives and KPIs. And then ML will conclude by showing you the new regional structure, and also she'll explain some very key roles. And then we'll have questions. So this is one of the biggest changes in Rotary in the last 80 years, and it is being watched worldwide. There's a lot to get through, a lot of slides on this, so I've got to find the thing first. So let me check where that is. Is that the one? Has that come up yet? No. No, won't help if I... Thanks, Melos. I've just got to push the right button, I suppose. No?
We're there, okay.
Is that the one? Yeah, good, thank you. But before I begin, quite a few slides, and I'm actually going to move pretty fast through them, so watch the screens and listen while you eat. And afterwards we'll have lots of questions. But before I begin, I just want to make a few very important acknowledgements. 5 people from this club have been involved with the regional pilot development in a very big way over about 6 years. So apart from my involvement, the other 4 are Darcy Walsh. As you know, Darcy is a very competent project manager and practical change leader. Couldn't have done what we've done without Darcy. Raf, who's was sitting next to me at the top table here, they wanted somebody to assist Darcy and myself, from a younger person, and Raf is a very intelligent lady who's been quite experienced with change management, and so she's helped us out for 6 years. And the other very important person is Greg Ganagi over here, who's we couldn't achieve what we did, as you'll see as it unfolds. And the other is Lisa Dallow. So I just wanted to recognise those people. And one stage when we started this, there was a team of 7 that started this pilot. 3 of them from the Rotary Club of Adelaide, myself, Darcy, and Raf. And we got into 12 months, and then we found out that we couldn't go any further without the expertise and professionalism of Greg Nagy. So 50% of the people that were running this were from the Rotary Club of Adelaide. And Lisa came in with her superb outside the square thinking and efficiency skills and made a huge difference as well. Marie-Louise has been with us on the journey in the background, and now she's front and centre, and she's actually the chair of the Zone 8 Regional Pilot Change Committee. So couldn't get a better person to be leading us in this district. So I've selected this title, Giving the Past a Future Now. It's important because the past, if you don't take it into consideration, you try and lead change in big trouble. And what we've tried to do, and I'll try and show in this thing, that what are the magical things about being a Rotarian and being in Rotary from the past that we need to bring forward, that we don't want to lose. So it's an appropriate title, and this slide here tells you it's very dangerous to take on a challenge like this without considering the past, the origin, the culture. It's like a tree with no roots. So that quote comes from a fellow named Marcus Garvey. The other very important person that has influenced myself and many others is this man from our club. And we've heard a lot about him over the last 12 months in particular. There's no better person to inform us on the history of Rotary than Colin, a friend of mine for 20 years, very close to him in his last 2 years, and in particular in his last 6 months. And I've put up there on the slide 2 key words that Colin was really about. He was president in 1989-90, and he changed the theme, Enjoy Rotary, to extend the hand of friendship and enjoy Rotary. And he was always on about service above self, writing things for our bulletin and speaking at the podium. So those 2 things, service and friendship, anything that you do, if you won't go make any change, they've got a feature. So just wanted to acknowledge Colin. Reg has helped me with a few slides. This one out of our archives, 1928, 5 years after we started. Members of the Rotary Club of Adelaide, have a look at them. At the Adelaide train station, about to go to Mount Gambier. Captains of industry, shiny shoes, hats and coats, cigarettes, wonderful men, no women, say no more. The 3 phases of our history I would like to have a look at. And these are the 3 phases, the years 23 to 45, and then 45 to 85, and at 85 to 2020. They're very distinct stages. In the first stage, in the beginning, the first 22 years, there were only 5 clubs in Australia when we started. We were one of them. There wasn't a district. And in 1927, the first district was formed. By 1946, there were 4 districts in Australia, and there were only 6 clubs in South Australia that we'd chartered. So keep that in mind. It was a very slow beginning. In the second phase, the growth years, which is a period of 40 years, 91 clubs were chartered in South Australia, or in our district, if you like. And 30 districts were formed across Australia and New Zealand. Then we entered, in 1985, we entered a period of plateauing and decline for 38 years, and only 24 clubs were chartered in this period, and 41 clubs. Oh God, it's gone back. What have happened here? Am I going the wrong way? Oh. So, well, sorry about this. I've got it all the wrong way. Oh, here we go. So you saw that? Did you see that? Yeah. Milos.
to the beginning? Where do you want to go?
I'm going to use that little button there. Is that the forward, is it?
That one? There
Is
it
that the forward?
Yeah.
Okay. So as I said, in the growth stage, we had 91 clubs start and 30 districts were formed. And then in the latter stage, from 1985 onwards, we had 24 clubs chartered and 41 have handed back their charters. And during that time, since 1985, our membership has halved. And but the districts stayed the same. This is what the districts looked like at the end of 2020. Even though our membership had changed, we still had close to 30 districts around Australia, with half the membership, Australia and New Zealand, half the membership funding the same number of districts. So many of us in Rotary began around at that stage. There'll be some members here in 1985. And so we've had a lived experience since 1985. And this is the picture of myself in 1990. And when I put this up, when I pulled this out the other day, my wife Chris said 2 words: Norman Gunston. I didn't realise I had a bald patch, and she reckons I was into the comb over as well. But it was around about that time I decided to embrace change and not resist it. But going forward, I joined the Rotary Club of Adelaide in 2000, but some members would have been here at this club for a lot longer than that. So up here I've got 4 pictures. The top 2 are from and to, and so are the bottom 2. It's just 1985 to 2015 shows where we are today. And this club came to this venue. It was wonderful in those early days. And of course, it's a story of great resistance to change, and it's a story of great vision and planning and political nous by Ian McLaughlin, bringing together the AFL, the state government, and eventually the SANFL to bring it all back together. And it's a wonderful metaphor for change. And of course, it was during this time that our club was going backwards at a rate of about, it was actually 30% in 15 years from the day I joined in 2000 to 2015. We were losing 10% of our membership every year. So our presidents all got together, as you know, and made sure that by the time we got to the year 2000, we had turned it around. And it's a credit to our presidents of this club, because most other places around Australia didn't. So we are now the second biggest Rotary club in Australia because of adopting that same planning long-term approach. I put this other couple of pictures up there because Trevor liked them, and it is actually my bathroom that Chris wanted to have renovated. It's a bathroom laundry, actually. Back in 1992, it took me 30 years to get around to it. I resisted it very well. But eventually got to it, and she's a happy wife, happy life for me. But along the way, it taught us to expect disruption. I think the regionalisation is a similar thing, that we need to expect disruption. It won't affect clubs so much, but it's certainly above clubs it's having a big effect. In 2018, when I was District Governor, a few of us went to a conference in Hobart. Darcy was one, I think ML might have been there, Lisa, I'm not sure, but various others. And Ian Risley, the immediate past president, put up this slide showing the reduction in the last 10 years of Rotary membership. I was a district governor along with my other classmates. Ian came into our separate meeting afterwards, and so we challenged him, what's the Rotary International Board doing about it? And he challenged after talking for about 10 minutes on why change in Rotary is very hard with the council legislation that meets every 3 years. He asked us to, he sort of left it at that until his wife stood up, who was a past district governor, and said, why don't you challenge this group, Ian, to petition the RI board to plan an approach to do something about it. He said, yeah, you can do that. You had to be unanimous, so we did. So we went forward with this plan. And that was the start of a 5-year journey. As you see on the slide here, it went from 2018 to 2023, and now here we are in 24. I won't go through each of those things there, but the bottom line was that it was a very difficult expedition with a very noble purpose, with a lot of people looking to hold us up and not wanting to be a part of it. But eventually in 2022, we got the plan that we developed approved, subject to three conditions. The first was that every district in Australia had to have 67% of their clubs agree to it, and we couldn't have achieved that without the support of Greg Nagy, because it was a real communication exercise right around Australia to actually get them to agree to wanting to undertake change. We did achieve 90% of the clubs in Australia and New Zealand agreed. All but one district achieved the 67%, and there were lots of reasons why that district didn't achieve that. But the RI board said, we don't mind, we'll leave that district out, we want the rest of you to go ahead. The second condition was that we had to get it past the Council of Legislation, which required 50% of the district governors of the world, 540 of them, to agree that we're going to take a pilot. All the other districts around the world wanted it to be then, so some of them were voting no because it wasn't them, believe it or not. But it was achieved at 67% of the districts around the world agreed. And the third condition was that we had to submit a financial plan of the cost of this pilot, which we did, and the RI board has approved a $2 million US for this pilot to be conducted in Australia and New Zealand for the rest of the world. Preparations began, as you can see. So how do we go about it? Well, to clarify the challenge, we ask questions. Darcy will recognise some of these questions because he designed them. What needs changing, and if we do change, what in an ideal must be retained? What keeps existing members in Rotary, and what makes them consider leaving? We wanted to know the answers to these questions before we tried anything. We also want to know what Australians, potential members, are looking for in non-profit organisations, and so there was an independent study done. And we looked at what are successful organisations facing similar challenges doing. This is the answer to the first question. We sent out 27,000 emails to Rotarians in Australia and New Zealand, and they virtually came back with what must be retained, as you see there. 46% of the answers were about service. They wanted involvement in that, and 33% about friendship. Exactly what Colin Bridson had said so many years ago. And on the other side of it, what needs changing? Well, the answers could be, they were sort of all over the place, and we put them into two categories. Answers that were about change at club level and answers above club level. 52% of the answers were in the former, and they wanted less cost, less administration, less bureaucracy, more collaboration, less conflict. And above club level, 40% said that they wanted things like more collaboration. And they wanted one voice for Rotary. 25 districts all doing their own thing. No one talking to government, corporates, crazy stuff. So they wanted one voice. They wanted a flatter organisation, streamlining and less costs. 8% said they were relatively happy, though, with the status quo. Probably past district governors, I'd say. But they did want simplification and regional autonomy. A survey is done every year on throughout Rotary, and Rotary International conducts it. And in our zone, 36% of the Zone 8 members said that in the last survey that they were considering leaving Rotary. But they asked those same people, why is it that you're remaining? 80% is because they like being involved in service project. 71% said they like friendship. Once again, Colin Bridson was on the money. And the reasons why they're considering leaving, as you can see, time issues, cost issues, values mismatch, expectations not being met. These are important things. And an external survey, as I said, was conducted by Rotary International in Australia. And the key answers, the top answer for what sort of organisation you're looking to join was one that gives me a sense of purpose, closely followed by causes that are important to me. And this is important because 1 minute. God. Getting close. Because, volunteering trends are changing, whether we like it or not, and all organisations, churches, clubs, are dealing with these challenges. We also looked at organisations that were, that were being successful. We consulted McKinsey & Co, and they said that there's a new form of organisation emerging which is about collaborative networks, self-managing teams, agile leadership. And we looked into that, what that meant. This is from McKinsey, where there are mindset changes of the leaders that are required. I won't go into every detail of that, but they're really important mindset changes away from the way that we've been in the past, the way we're structured. We then began with the end of the mind in mind, and we sort of said, what do we want? We want cost-effective governance, best people to help clubs. We wanted less administration and more time for service, friendship. We wanted to improve retention, which is terrible in Rotary when you look at it across the board, collaboration and growth. And we wanted more enjoyable leadership roles that were actually doable. Some of them are just too much, and I can tell you that from being a district governor. So our aim was the pilot's main goal was to find ways to more effectively and efficiently support members and clubs to impact growth and adapt to changing volunteering trends. These are the 5 key objectives. I won't read each one of it. They're about helping clubs. They're about collaboration. They're about being more efficient. And this is the work of Greg Nagy. His language skills helped us dramatically there. We then identified the key performance indicators. There they are. I won't go into all of them, but you can imagine what they are. They're about membership and a number of things that have to be measured. So I've come to the end of my bit, and I just want to finish with this little cartoon, if you can read it. It says, when are you going to stop wasting your time with that science fiction nonsense and start dealing with the reality? It's not my wife that's saying that to me, and ML is more likely to be that person that's thinking of new ways to do things, and I'm very pleased to hand over to her at this stage. Push that one for the next one. Right?
Thanks, David. So I've put this slide in first. This is a McKinsey diagram. And this is the diagram that helped me make the shift in mindset that we're trying to achieve, which is from a traditional hierarchy to an agile organisations. And I love the term where it talks about going from an organisation to an organism. And if we think of organisms, if organisms are well fed, they grow and multiply, and that's what we want to happen with Rotary. This model, and I'm reliably informed that Lisa Dallow had a lot to do with the depiction of this, of showing that what we want is clubs and members at the centre. So only clubs and members can make the change in Rotary that we want to see. So, looking at going from our traditional rigid, downward governing, supervising model to this more agile, upward pushing, grabbing support when you want it model that we hope to implement as the title. And you'll see the 3 new key parts of the structure, which is the Regional Council, the Specialists Network and the Community Leaders. I won't spend too much time on this because there's a lot of detail here, but there was a lot of work done by a group setting this up called the Organisational Design Team that looked at, if you rebuilt Rotary now, how would you structure it to give a better and more effective operation, I guess. We've got some portfolios, we have portfolio leads, and this group becomes our one voice of governance across the zone. It came into being on the 1st of January 2024, and it has one shareholder. It's a company limited by guarantee, and the one shareholder is Rotary International. So one of the first things that happened was around recruiting brave souls to put their hands up to be part of the Regional Council. And that's one of the other fundamental shifts in the new model, is around allowing clubs to elect their community leader, allowing clubs and members to elect the people who form the Regional Council. So that's the new structure. As I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I will spend a little bit of time on this because there's 3 new key roles The first one is the community leader. And this is the new style leadership role where we have 7 community groups that cross our district. The online club is joining a community group of other online clubs, but all the other clubs in our district elected to be part of community groups within our existing boundaries. So we have 7 community leaders, and the role is around facilitation, support, coaching, mentoring, and one of the key roles is to work with club leaders, not to go in and fix what's wrong with their club, but to come up with a growth plan for that community. And that's Heidi is the community leader for the group, the sexily called Rotary Community Group 1. Heidi's your community leader. She's had some learning and development to come up with, there's a process to take club leaders through to how do we, within the community, grow the impact of Rotary so we become an attractive organisation for people to join. People see what we do, and by seeing what we do, they want to be part of what we do, what we achieve, the impact we have. And then from that, the new members will have people wanting to join us. One of the examples is in Ukraine, and we don't want a war. The situation in Ukraine is terrible, but membership in Rotary has increased by 40%. Because the community can see what impact Rotary has had. And that's, without the war, that's the kind of impact we want people to see and to come and join us. The second role is the Rotary Specialist. And this morning at 7:30, I was actually on the webinar, which was the learning and development for the new Rotary Specialist Network, which should be launched in the next week, where people across the zone who've got skills to offer. And there's many in this room, and applications are open to join the Specialist Network. It's an online consultation role. Someone wants advice on, doing a project in the Philippines. They can look up the Specialist Network, find that person, email them. They either have email or phone conversation to provide support. And that way we can access the best of the best across the zone in specialists. So please consider, if you have skills that you are willing to volunteer to support Rotarians across our zone, please consider joining the Specialist Network. The last one is the portfolio committees of the Regional Council, and their role is to come up with strategy for all of those portfolios across the zone. It's really interesting, it has been really interesting for me as when you're a part of a district, like being part of a club, you know the way your district and your club operates. When you start to hear what other clubs and other districts do, you start to realise there's a lot of variation. Some of that's positive, some not so good. So what we're hoping to do with the portfolio committees by having strategy across the zone is pick the best and have great strategies for all our programs and the way we operate, and end up with a lot more consistency and the best of the best we can be. So they're the really key zone. I'm pretty sure they're still looking for members of portfolio committees as well. So one of the other changes they've made is there's a lot of cost to our annual churn, and so roles in the pilot are 2-year roles rather than changing everyone over annually. So that will make a difference as well, I think. That's all I've got to say. There's plenty more we could say, and I think this is a David Egan slide, not mine. So thank you very much. If you want to know any more about our pilot or anything, Heidi's your first point of contact as your community leader, but I'm also willing to help in any way that I possibly can. Thank you.
Have we got a couple of minutes for questions, Di and Trevor? Yeah? Okay, any questions, Jeff?
Just a very simple question. I mean, I'm assuming Lions, do Apex exist anymore? The other service clubs, are they doing something similar? Is there opportunity to cannibalise them?
I only have knowledge of Apex. Interestingly, Apex over the years have gradually raised their level that you aged out, and they've recently removed it. So, and that's in response to exactly the same thing. We are not alone in this. I can't speak about Lions, but I guess Rotary has decided to not just say, oh, well, it's society. We want to make an attempt to actually turn it around. David may have knowledge of other things.
No, I was just going to say that Lions actually went through this process a couple of years before us, and I'm not sure how they're going, but they're organised a lot differently than what they were. And lots of other organisations, and we did have a look at a few others, Darcy, I think. Did you want to say something?
We were approached a number of years ago by General Motors for a national statement and national project. We didn't have one voice they could come and speak with. Lions grabbed that opportunity, and at that time were establishing a national voice for Lions across Australia. So they do have a national model, and they've been working on it for about 5 years. And that helped us a lot in the early stages of realising the value of having one voice for the organisation.
That's the idea of a peak body or
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we've got one regional council now, and instead of having 30 district governors, no one knew who to go to, and they're all doing their own thing. Any other questions?
Very simple question. Has any work been done on the critical size of a Rotary club? Because it's through Rotary clubs we deliver our service. And if we consume all of their resources in managing the club, there's very little left for service. So has that been addressed?
Yeah, I'll come to that. I don't. We haven't actually specifically looked at that, but I'm aware that we used to say an ideal size Rotary club was about 35 people. But many of them are 10, 8, 15, and they're really struggling. And this idea of this community groups is to recognise the fact that fellowship and projects is really hard when you're down to that size. How do you get a guest speaker to come along and talk to 5 people? So the actual collaboration is a really important part of actually addressing that. But no specifically that I'm aware of. But Heidi, did you want to say something?
Have we got a minute, or is it okay? I just wanted to let you know that part of my role as community leader and working with groups of clubs, so the 15 in our club, part of what we've done is a discovery, and that is to look at what each of the membership numbers in each of our club and what projects we're doing, and also community service, local community service, international youth and fundraising, and we also have looked at Rotary Foundation, who's contributing to that, and also our membership engagement strategies. And so we've mapped all that within our community group, and it was eye-opening to see, I think, to all of us, because there is some doubling up happening in clubs. And also one of the other key aha moments was about the names of Rotary clubs. And I haven't mentioned this to ML yet, but, there are Rotary clubs like ours. We may have our meetings here in Adelaide, but we're doing work right across the world and right across the state. So, the concept of a cause-based club that many of you would have heard of has been a bit of an aha moment for me as well. So, because often our stakeholders, the people that we serve, they think that, oh, you're the Rotary Club of Adelaide, you only do things in Adelaide, so we won't go to you. The Rotary Club of Kent Town, oh, you only do things in Kent Town, we won't go to you for help. So that's been a bit of another aha moment. That's why working collaboratively is already starting to be quite eye-opening.